I don't care what you say. I'm not getting older. I'm not getting older. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to first congratulate each of you on your decision to entrust us as veterans, as mentors, with your son or daughter. And I'm fully aware that to get to this point in your life, it's been anything but easy. In fact, I'm even more aware that a lot of you all had to put a ton of effort in to get here today. In fact, by show of hands, who here had to travel further than 1 hour to get here today? Same for my own family who's here. Thank you. I'm truly grateful and appreciate the effort. And I know by now, you all are probably wondering, what's different about my son or daughter? What's changed? What's going to be better? How's my family going to be like? How long will the changes last? Well, if you follow me close, I'm going to tell you a few things that you can do starting today to make not just a difference, but to make the difference. Not a difference that's going to last today or for a week or for a month or even for a year, but for as long as it takes. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Max Garcia. I am a motivational speaker, former U.S. Marine, Sergeant Major, now living here in Australia. But hey, above all that, I'm yours for this morning. I'd like to first acknowledge the original inhabitants of this beautiful land, the Aboriginal people, as well as our director, Matthew French, for taking a huge risk, taking a massive leap of faith with his family approximately 7 years ago to make all of this possible. You see, I can relate to all of you, and I can relate to your kids even more. Because one thing you don't know, I'll share a couple things that I'm a little bit embarrassed to share. That the reason I can relate to your kids so well is because when I was a kid growing up, like many of them, I struggled. I struggled in every subject, I struggled in every year, and I struggled in every sport throughout my childhood. In fact, I had little to no confidence, little to no self-esteem. It wasn't until I joined the Marine Corps later where I actually learned how to build my confidence. To put that in perspective and give you an idea of what that looks like, I'm going to show you a picture of what I used to look like as a kid that will speak 1,000 words. Go ahead, laugh, it's okay. This is what I looked like as a kid. This picture does not scream confident leader. This picture does not scream trained killer or any of those other things that we're supposed to be. So it's not easy for me to talk about these things. And I don't know if I had low confidence as a kid because I struggled in school, or maybe I had low confidence because I was adopted. So a little bit of background about me. Not that you actually care, but so that you know how I can best assist and advise. So yes, I'm American. However, I was actually born in Tijuana, Mexico. I was adopted by Americans as a newborn baby. In fact, I've never even met my biological family until just now over the Christmas holidays. I met my biological mother for the first time. And I know a lot of your kids can relate to that. Again, this isn't easy to talk about. So, and I know several of your kids are also have been adopted just like myself, which we've talked about. So, a few things I recommend to help you seal the changes that you see. I'm going to preface with a very short story because there's a young man I've had the pleasure of working with who attended this course a few courses ago. And I meet with him once a week for a few hours. And recently, he was suspended from school again for stealing. And whenever I picked him up, he jumped in my Jeep. His mom had called me a few days prior and told me that he had been suspended. He jumped in my Jeep, and right away I gave him the, "Hey, I'm so disappointed" speech. And then I asked him, I said, "Hey, so what'd your parents say?" Because I was nosy. I said, "What'd your parents say?" And he looked at me and he said, "Nothing really." And I said, "They didn't like take away your TV or your room or your PlayStation. I noticed you jumped in my Jeep, you have your phone, and Instagram was open when you jumped in." And he goes, and he said this to me. He looked at me with a straight face, and he said, "Oh, my parents know better than to try to take my phone away," is what he said. I mention this, ladies and gentlemen, because if they have a relapse in judgment, which they will, we're all humans, when they have a relapse in judgment, the reaction is to do nothing, then at that stage, I feel that you are working against us and what we've done over the last 9 days. Like Frenchie said, 18, 19-hour days, sometimes longer. You can even hear I've lost my voice from yelling at your kids. So, a few other recommendations. Today, I recommend that you stop somewhere along the way home, maybe stop for lunch. You'll know when the time is right because I know a lot of your kids are extremely tired. And you have a chat with them, a heart-to-heart talk. First, I recommend that you tell them how proud of them you are for completing what's possibly the most difficult youth program on the planet. If there's a harder one, I'd like to know about it. Next, I recommend that you tell them, of course, how much you love them. And then the hard part is I recommend you point the finger at yourself and you say a few things such as, "Hey, I know I haven't spent as much time with you as I should. I know that I don't always listen as good as I should." I'm talking to my kid now who's over here as well. "I know that sometimes it might seem like I'm barking at you, I'm barking orders at you rather than talking with you." Now, the reason I say point the finger at yourself first is because as soon as you do that, their eyes and ears are going to be wide open. I mean, who doesn't like to hear that from their parents, right? And then, what I recommend, once you pointed the finger at yourself, I recommend you say something like this: "Now that I've told you what I will do to make us better, and now that I've told you what I will never do again, that thing that I did last year or last month or whatever it is, now that I've told you what I will do, from you, I expect the following," or "this is what's going to change." Again, I recommend having this chat before you get home. Because if you get home and they're allowed, from the second they get in your car, unlimited access to their phones, to their Snapchat, to junk food, to their gaming systems, then it's going to be very hard to get back to where we were. And I would feel like you're working against us at this time. So again, I recommend part of that chat is you put limitations. Hey, you'll be limited to this amount of junk food, this amount of screen time per day, per week, whatever it is that suits you. But set the expectation and then explain why. I'm a big believer in Simon Sinek's start with why. Because I never want to see you end up like your Uncle Bob who's in jail, or that neighbor we know who overdosed, or whatever it is. I love you too much. You tell them some of that so it's not just you barking orders at them and they understand why. You're kind of getting the buy-in, if you will. However, you're kind of telling, not asking at all. You see, you look out here, you may have noticed as they walked out how quickly they respond to orders. They're all ready for change. They've already changed. Instant, willing obedience to orders is what we've instilled in them. So it's up to this side to keep it going. And I realize I'm a little bit in your face about it. And the reason I'm so passionate about it